afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Here we are. Fantasy football.
Harsh reality.
I am here. I'm Greg Romero Wilson, comedian extraordinaire, fantasy football enthusiast. And with me, as always, is Scott the Nation Berman and his fantastic fantasy football advice. We lot to go. It's week 7, first of all. It goes so fast. How are we already at week 7?
It's always this way where you wait. It feels like the wait is forever for it to get here. And then when it's here,
oh my God,
you blink and it's week 7. We'll blink again. It'll be the playoffs. And then, and then it's over.
I know. And the thing is, it's like, I hate to say it. I love the summer. I live in Los Angeles. I love going to the beach. I love laying by the pool, working on my tan. But I have to admit, the second I see summer coming, I'm like, cool, let's get this out of the way. Football. And in a way, it does make summer feel longer. But I am always, especially, August, here comes preseason, like training camp. Like I get
hard knocks.
Yeah, I get all caught up in it. Then we finally get to the season, week 1, and then it's zoom, 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 and it disappears so fast. Here we go, week 7, and again, there's nothing like the pure drama of the National Football League. Now let's start. Obviously, the major storylines.
Start with
Devontae going, which I thought for sure. Which I think Carr getting injured kind of probably drove it a little bit more to it, but I didn't think he would rejoin Rodgers. But I guess
they are fine. They've patched it up. They're good. He wanted to go.
No, clearly.
Yeah,
I feel like it's a couple that got a divorce and then he got with somebody else and was like, oh, you know what? This sucks. It's actually way better with them. What was I doing? What was I thinking? Can I get back together with you? Like, it's pretty much that, I think.
So the question then is, Garrett Wilson managers want to know, is this good or bad? I think it's going to be a good thing for Garrett Wilson.
I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great thing.
In fact, I think he's a trade for target right now. If you're, week 7 and you're a little bit, he's been sort of underperforming, Garrett Wilson. The managers have been watching him play and they're underwhelmed. They may think that you can sell them on, well, now he's really going to disappear because Devontae.
Oh, that's funny. I wonder if I could trade Amari Cooper for Garrett Wilson. Would that be worth doing, do you think?
I don't know. He's the next on the list.
And that brings us to
Cooper to the Bills. I think it's going to be awesome. I would not trade Cooper now. Look, I wouldn't do it.
I've been with Cooper for so long. You know this. I draft him a lot. I always, because he's almost, and there's no such thing as quarterback proof, but he's almost quarterback proof. I mean, just the way he's just an incredibly productive, and he's a workman about it. Like, he doesn't talk, he doesn't address the media, he doesn't have a podcast, he's not tweeting, can play. He does his job day in, day out, week after week, a true yeoman. And now he gets a real quarterback, and we're seeing the difference it makes with McLaurin. I cannot wait to see what happens in 3 weeks with Amari Cooper.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll take that long, but I certainly don't know. And, I don't know about this week. He'll be there for a cup of coffee. I know Josh is going to want to, play with his new toy. And I think Shakir came back last week and he looked okay. But I think that, he's not quite.
I know the ankle thing is still clearly bothering him. He tried, he was out there, but he also left the field pretty early.
He did leave the field. Exactly. So I think he's still struggling. I think it'll be great to have him there, and I'm excited to see it. I again don't know if this week will be the week, but I think the next week, because he is that good. And honestly, Josh really needs that. He needs a Stephon Diggs. He needs somebody.
Yeah.
And Amari is hungry for somebody who can throw in his vicinity. That's all he needs.
That's all he needs. He has a huge catch radius. Just get it down there. Just get it down, and they can't do it. They have and again, every other quarterback but Deshaun. And it leads me back to what I was saying. Again, we never hear a peep out of Amari, but I've been saying I feel like it's a personal thing with Cooper and who Watson is. I feel like he's never liked Watson, doesn't like Watson, and that's why he will do it for everybody else, he ain't laying out for Watson. And I think that
Yeah.
also probably played a little because Cleveland knows they're married to Watson. So get what you can get for Amari, since he's clearly not going to go out there and try for
I still think Cleveland is so stupid. I mean, no wonder they're the Factory of Sadness. You know
you.
what? You made it. I mean, that's their real nickname, the Factory of Sadness.
Yeah,
I didn't make that up. I love
like,
that's my
wow,
favorite
that's
nickname.
oh,
Yeah,
please remind me to name a comedy special, The
the
Factory
Factory
of
of Sadness, and
Sadness.
do it all about Cleveland and do it in Cleveland, and they'll
How is
all
there
get
not
it.
an emo album named The Factory of
I
Sadness?
don't know. You're right.
I'm just going to hold up a sign at the When We Were Young festival in Las Vegas this weekend in front of My Chemical Romance, like The Factory of Sadness. I'm like, that's a great name for an album. We're gonna make it.
Give it to Nick. You know, he's got that mopey band. You know, give it
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Nick.
yeah, yeah.
He'll do it.
He should
He'll
do
do
that.
it.
We'll give that to him.
Anyway, so I think Cleveland really is stupid. They have not recognized what the whole world has recognized. And it's not like the coaches are paying out of their pocket. It's the owner, and the owners are all zillionaires. This is that 170 million or whatever it was, 200 million. It sounds like a lot of money. To me and you, it is. But to them, it's really not.
It
And
doesn't matter, dude. No, and I've said this before. He's playing because the owner is telling the coach to play him.
It's a
The
stupid
owner
thing.
is telling the GM, you're not trading. We're not paying somebody else. I'm paying him, and he will go out there and do. And honestly, this could be a major step up for Jerry Jeudy, because
Good point.
earlier in this season, those first couple of games, that chemistry was there.
Correct.
And then
I think that was
trying
when
to
Cooper
force
was a
feed.
little. Yeah, I think Cooper was a little banged up at the
Right.
beginning
And then
too.
he started trying to force feed Cooper, and that's when it really fell apart. I think this is actually going to be good for Cleveland and Jerry Jeudy and Deshaun Watson. I think it'll help the team. And now with Nick Chubb coming back.
I was just about to say that as well. You're getting Nick Chubb back. I think Njoku is going to also come up.
He's starting to get better. Yep.
I think he'll come up. So it might be better. But look, if the quarterback is not accurate and cannot
it's called addition by subtraction.
Yeah.
And I think that may be what we're looking at down the road here. I'm not saying that's going to make Deshaun Watson fantasy relevant. I'm just saying they're not going to do worse with him.
Well, certainly something for fantasy managers to think about. There is one other headline. It's not really a major headline, but it is something that I wanted to discuss here is Cam Akers going to the Vikings.
Yes.
Is this just because Mixon is healthy, Damian Pierce is healthy, Agubawale was pretty good, they don't need him anymore in Houston? Or is it, and he's comfortable because he was there in Minnesota?
Aaron Jones.
Is it Aaron Jones?
It's Aaron Jones. He has a hip problem. He got banged up. He has a hip problem. They're looking at Ty Chandler going, we need help. And yeah, the other guys are healthy. They got Agubawale. They got Damian Pierce now running for, charging, doing the angry runs game again. Yeah, he's hot man out. And when Cam Akers had his shot, he sucked. So they were like, you want him? You got him,
and they are feeling good.
And he's a healthy set of experienced legs. And so I think, it was important. They had to do it. And I think if anything, it signals that Aaron Jones is more banged up than we thought.
That's what I'm afraid of. That's
what
he was having such a good season. He was proving me wrong. I thought there was no way that he was going to have a good season because he's 29 years old, going to a new team. And I thought, you know what? And then when Sam Darnold came along, I was like, oh, this is just never going to work. And it turned out to work great. He looked so much better. And I was actually excited. And I actually traded for him.
Oh, shit.
2 weeks ago.
Listen, there's two kinds of trades. The trades where the guy you traded away goes down and you're like, woo! And then the kind where you trade away and then that guy blows up and you're like, oh my God, McLaurin, you're quit McFucking me.
I'm not loving it.
I'm not loving it. He keeps McFucking me. But I think there's another storyline we have to touch on. That is this glorious revenge game for Mr. Saquon Barkley. I think Saquon Barkley is going to sashay all the fuck over the Giants. I mean, and I don't always buy the revenge narrative. I really don't,
Right.
because the opportunity isn't always there, and sometimes they don't want to play into it, so they don't give them the
Sometimes there
opportunity.
just isn't any bad blood.
Right, but this time, especially since, and I'll tell you what makes this the perfect storm, and this is going to lead me into, this will lead us into our next, well, not necessarily our next section, but this will
Yeah,
come up
because that's
again.
what I've got for this is the week, by the way.
But I do too. I also have that for this is the week,
okay,
because this
all
is
right,
then you know what, we'll discuss it at this
let's
is the week.
wait.
We'll
Let's
save
wait.
it. We will discuss it.
Let's,
you all know, anybody watching the show knows where we're going with this, and but we will save that for the, because I have the exact same thing. We'll share that then. So now move on really quickly. Waiver wire wins. What you got?
I have two of them. I've got Demario Douglas.
Same, one of mine. There you go.
And Jaylen Warren.
Oh, he was out there.
He was out there. I went and grabbed him, not in, I don't think in our league, but in one of my leagues. He was still out there, and a lot of people have dropped him because he hasn't been playing. That to me was a real win. I think it's all about to shift. Even though, Najee had that breakout, like we call
Dude, when you say shift, that isn't a good thing in this situation. We're talking about shifting sand that they're trying to build this house on. So, that part I would be a little concerned about. But that is a solid pickup. And there is, I mean, he is the more explosive runner. But we've seen year after year, the coach hasn't changed. Philosophy hasn't changed. For some reason, I don't know what happens in those practices, but Najee Harris somehow cements himself as the RB1 on that team. And then the game day comes, and Warren is clearly the shiftier, speedier, more effective back. Doesn't make a fucking difference week in, week out, year over year. I've been with Najee for so long.
Well, it does. It does make a little difference in a PPR or a half PPR league. Jaylen is the guy who, he's like the Eckler, over in Washington. He's the pass catching running back. And I think that you're going to get a higher floor with Warren, even if he doesn't get, as many touches as he should, he will get, some of those screen passes and some small passes that'll help his floor be much higher. And right now it's hard out there, for running backs. I mean, Cook is down, Taylor's down, Mason's down. There's all these major guys are out. I mean, you're gonna.
Let me ask you something. Would you trade Malik Neighbors for Jonathan Taylor?
Depends what I need. Do I need a wide receiver or do I need a running back?
You need a running back.
If you need a running back more, then do not do that. Don't do it.
No. Oh yeah, but I have Malik Neighbors. Is what I'm saying.
Would you trade
I would
him?
get Jonathan Taylor.
Okay, then yes. If you need the running back, I would do it. I might see if I can get away with somebody a little, another tier down from Malik Neighbors, just because of the injury.
Well, I know he wants Malik Neighbors. He was trying to get him from me this week. He sent me Tyrone Tracy and Nick Chubb, and I was like, nope. So we'll keep going. But let's move on. Let's move on.
Yes,
Waiver wire wins for me. The Saints defense versus Denver.
Nice.
And also Demario Douglas, a guy I think has the Drake May connections there. Everyone thought it'd be Polk.
I did.
And I have been waiting on Demario Douglas to happen since last season. He was one of those guys that showed pop here, little bursts where you're like, you thought the spark would catch fire and it just didn't. And now I think because we know Drake May is the future,
He's pretty good.
Get in on the Demario Douglas train now, because this train is going to leave the station very quick.
Get on board.
Pat's track number 9. Get on board. It's
final call for Demario Douglas.
Final call. Boy, unlike Xavier Legette, who has he's had 9 final calls in 7 weeks, but we'll move on.
Yeah, well, he got hurt, but he still is good, man. He's good. You'll see.
Now let's talk about what are we gonna do. And I guess for me, one of the sad, it's so strange the way, because what are we gonna do about DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley, 2 incredibly talented, if aged, wide receivers? And it's weird because Tony Pollard's doing great.
Right. But you're right. That is very strange.
which means the offensive line is good, which
It's their
means the
quarterback
quarterback is that
is
fucking inept.
bad.
There's
Got
two
mayo in the
experiments.
brain.
There's two experiments we have to come to terms with. And the next one on my what are we gonna do thing
Yeah,
here.
we're gonna drop Anthony Richardson.
That is the next
Yeah.
one, and it's also Will Levis. It's like, at what point do we decide that the experiment's over? They fucking suck. Yeah, they have a cannon for an arm, but they can't fucking put it anywhere and have zero touch. Dun 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 dun. It's over.
Well, what are we going to do about them when you say Hopkins and Ridley? I think, we drop them. We can't trade them. They have no value.
They have no trade value, and you don't
they're
even
a
think
waste on your
them?
bench. I mean, if you can, but the bye weeks are coming up. They're not for what? Why
You're
are you
right.
holding
I know.
them?
Listen, I dropped DeAndre Hopkins this week. They are, unfortunately, until and they tried out Mason Rudolph, went on bye week, came back, gave it right back to Levis. Okay, well, that clearly shows what they plan to do. So yeah, I'm with you. We gotta
It's sad.
flush,
It's sad. I had
flush
such high
those
hopes.
turds. It's fucking over.
I had real high hopes for Ridley this season. I'm glad. I mean, I remember at the first episode, you were like, "Who did you miss out on?" And I was like, "Oh, I missed out on Calvin Ridley." And I guess I'm glad I dodged a bullet, is what happened, because it's just a mess. It's a mess over there.
Yeah, half a season to go. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, right. So what are we going to do about Nick Chubb coming back this week? Do we play him right away? Do we wait? No.
You do not touch Nick Chubb this week. Well, I mean, they're going to put him out there, but not for that many runs.
Right.
And again,
he's got to be on a pitch count, I'm sure.
Yes,
right?
absolutely. He's going to be on a pitch count. I guess is it Deontay Foreman is the other guy, because I believe Ford is now injured.
Right.
Ford is injured. So Deontay, this actually, you should probably talk about a sleeper flyer. Deontay Foreman will be a good one, because no one's going to touch him because of the Nick Chubb. But there's no way he carries the ball more than 6-7 times, and the rest of the time is probably going to be Deontay Foreman's. So I mean, yeah, you cannot start him this week. Not
I am very excited to see him. I am excited to see him.
Oh, I am too. I am ecstatic.
I hope that he's,
But we saw this with Saquon. We've seen this with so many guys. I expect nothing from him for the remainder. I expect this whole remainder of this season to be him kind of warming back up into game shape. Now you get Tony Pollard. I think we get to next season. He's going to be usable, but I think he's going to be pretty much a shell of himself for the remainder of this season.
Well, I hope you're wrong on that, because I have some shares of that guy. I've been waiting to cash him in. I was hoping it would be this season.
Well, the rest of that offense is doing you no favors.
No, it's not. But he is pretty awesome. What about Cooper Kupp? He's coming back this week, I think. I don't know for sure. Do you just throw him right back in your lineup? I mean,
I think so.
By necessity, right?
I think you do, just because he doesn't need anything to reconnect with Stafford. That the chemistry is established. And it wasn't like a total MCL, ACL rebuild situation. Right. It was a severe strain that needed to heal. Exactly. No surgery. It just needed to heal. So clearly he's coming back to the field because he's ready, because he's healed, because he's practiced. He's stretched out. He's feeling it. Is it going to be classic Cooper Kupp? No, but can you play him? Yeah, I would. I mean, yeah. The same
would you play him? Would you play him over Zay Flowers?
That's saying, you fucking dick. Oh my God.
Saying, these are going to be kind of the situations people are going to find themselves in. It's hard. It's a hard call. I don't know what I don't know. I personally think that I think I would, but that's just because I've got him in every league and I'm biased and I want him to be right.
I think you'd have to diversify. Don't kill yourself on one guy. In the league where it's an easier choice, make the easier choice. I mean, Zay Flowers, listen, he proved me wrong last week, put together 2 good games. Who's to say he can't put together a third? I mean,
3 in a row.
Tampa Bay is a good defense, but not a great defense. So,
Spencer Rattler scored a lot on them.
And so if you get a chance, I would say go ahead and I mean, that's a coin toss. I'm sure in other leagues it's going to be a little easier to start him. So where you really need him.
Who are the Ravens playing?
The The Bucks.
Oh, boy.
No, that's not right.
All right,
Is
let
that
me
right?
see. Let me take a look.
No, that's right. That is right.
They are playing the Bucks.
Yeah. It is the Bucks.
So
Sorry.
the Ravens and the Bucks, and then it is the Rams and the Ravens and the Bucks and the Rams. Where are they?
Rams and Raiders.
Oh, well, I'll take Cooper Kupp every day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, versus the
looking at
Raiders,
that,
who are downtrodden. Yeah, exactly. Taking that into account. Yeah, I'd go ahead and play that too.
I'd go Cooper.
I'd go ahead and play with Cooper too. Although, again, coming off that injury, they may just let him run around more than actually throw the ball at him.
Get his cardio in.
You get him used to running the routes and being out there and just not getting him hit. You want to get him re-injured, throw him the fucking ball.
Yeah. You got any others for what we're gonna do?
Yes. What are we gonna do? And I hate this so much. Again, I draft him every year. I'm so hopeful. I see the talent. George Pickens, this poor guy, this carousel of QBs that just can't seem to get him the ball. Yes, they're 4-2, but Fields was not proficient in the actual playing of quarterback. Okay, which is why people are like, how can you do that? They're 4-2 because he ran his ass off, and eventually he'll get knocked the fuck out of the game. The reality is they need someone who can throw the ball, and obviously Russell Wilson looks like he can throw the ball better than Justin Fields.
What do you do with Pickens is you definitely hold and hope for the best. Now, if you're
I had to drop him. I needed the space on my bench.
If you have to, if you're forced, if you're forced, you're forced. If your hand is forced, but I would try to hold him and hope that it comes around, because it could.
I would. Listen, I'd love to, and I don't know that anybody's going to run right out and grab him out from under me. But that situation he's in, I'll tell you this. If this year plays out the way I expect it to, I until they draft a different quarterback that they believe in, that's a stud, I ain't touching Pickens again in any drafts. I'll tell you that.
It's sad because the circus catches that guy makes. I mean, I've seen him do some things that look impossible.
Oh my God. Again, like Demario Douglas, the sparks are there, no flame. Can't
get rid of Deontay.
Can't start the fire. They can't start the fire. So we keep on trying every single season. They can't start a
fire. Oh, poor Pittsburgh. No, they can't.
All right. Well, let's get to the good stuff. Let's get to this is the week. Our big, bold predictions. We jump right out there, out of the pan, into the fire. Let's go. Do you want to lead us off?
Absolutely, because I can guarantee this one. This is the week that Cowboy fans have no fear. We're on by, baby.
Lock it in. Listen, there's a look. I'm not even wearing a Cowboys cap today. I'm wearing my own Stash Makes Cash because I'm so frustrated with the Cowboys. I'm so hurt. And I love that even the fucking radio announcers have turned on Jerry Jones. He's like, I'll get somebody else to ask me these questions. I ain't need you. I'll go find some. I'll pay. I'll buy my own. He'll do a Trump and just start his own radio station, start my own radio station, call it Truth Radio. And then I'll go on there and I'll tell the truth about Cowboys the way I see it. Fucking idiot.
A perfect Jerry Jones. I thought it was him. Just now.
This is the week that Patrick Mahomes returns to fantasy relevance. I'm not going to say he's QB1 against the Niners. Again, which I love these rivalry games. I think I think people come out and play their best in these games. We saw it last week. I called it with the Buccaneers Saints game. And I think the difference here is Andy Reid after a bye. He schemes so well and Mahomes implements so well. I think now I'm not saying he's going to be QB1. I don't think he is, although but he is going to return to fantasy relevance. I think people are going to look at him and it's going to be one of those things where you're like, is he back? That's going to be the question we're talking about next week. this is the week he becomes valuable once again.
Well, he won't be QB1 because this is the week that Jordan Love is quarterback numero uno.
Yeah, I like it. And
This is
listen,
the one.
and listen, I can't say that that's that spicy because he's been scratching at it. He's been knocking on that door every single week. I love him. I picked, he was one of my first draft picks in Dynasty, even though he didn't start till the next year. I knew he was going to be a star. And it's that whole getting to sit there and just learn the game for 4 years. It's like, what a formula, And
Too bad nobody was there to help teach him, though. But other than that,
but there's nothing like being there. There's nothing like you get to watch it. If you get learn by watching, I don't know what else to tell you. And he clearly did, and I could absolutely see that being the case. I have a don't be surprised in the same category, but it's definitely not a this is the week. However,
are you going to steal the Saquon one right now?
This is the week that Saquon Barkley is RB1, baby. And I mean, listen, I got shares of him. You got shares of him. Where even though he's with our hated Eagles, he's
from the Giants to the Eagles.
It's a perfect storm, because he just had a down week coming out of a bye week, which was very odd. Everyone was expecting him to come out on fire, and instead he had a very mediocre week.
Not even mediocre. He had a very down week. He didn't even get double digits.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was very uncharacteristic.
Yeah.
It was almost like he needed to warm back up. They let him get too cold. Again, he is an older back, and he's been taking these fucking hits. And so maybe he just did it. But coming back, or maybe
he was saving it all for this week.
Saving all my love for you.
Saving all my hate.
Exactly. Yeah. Saving all my hate runs for you. I mean, he is. And I was just thinking, when he's saving all his love, it's just loading up jizz to throw all over the Giants' face.
Oh, what an image. So
I hope, and if anyone has any way that wants to reach out to Saquon Barkley, if he scores a touchdown, if he can just give it a Spider-Man towards the crowd,
just spraying his webs,
fucking dope,
flinging his webs. Hey, bro. So this is the week that not only is he going to be RB1, but this is the week that Saquon Barkley gets 200 scrimmage yards. That's right. 200 scrimmage yards. Add it all together. He's going to be catching it. He's going to be running it. He's going to be RB1. He's going to beat 200 scrimmage yards this week, baby.
I love that. And listen, after you called it with Najee, I got a tough time fighting you on it.
Thank you.
But this is the week that Terry McLaurin as wide receiver 1. Now, I know I said that.
You're going to be right one week.
But I was close. He was wide receiver 4. So I was very, very close. But this week versus Carolina.
Oh, so juicy.
Let me tell you something. I will never declare it again if it's not this week. Because this is the week.
All right. I like the conviction. Let's make it happen. I want to see a nailed right across that.
Boy, I hope so. We'll see.
You know what? This is the week that if he can play, Devon Achane breaks out and has that big game that we've been waiting for. Playing against the Colts, boy, are they a sieve right now. And if Achane can't, then I'd say it's Mostert. I mean, this is the week that Miami running backs are going to feast. And I think it's going to be Achane, and I think he's going to have one of those, oh, yeah, that's why he went so high in the draft kind of runs. I think he's going to remind you.
Interesting, because I have a very different perspective on that, but we'll get to it later in the show.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. That's it for me for This Is the Week.
Well, I've got one more, and that is that this is the week, my friend, Mark Andrews shows up. This will be the last week that I say this. I've said it, I think, 2 weeks ago, and it was, this is the week that he does show back up. I think he's finally okay from that car accident. There's so much chirping over there. That team is kind of trying to still find itself, even though they're on a winning streak. He is a great way to right the ship, and you know that he's solid. You know that he's good. He's going to show back up. And, I'm not saying he's going to be tight end 1, but I'm saying he's going to return to fantasy relevance, and he'll be the waiver wire darling next week.
Okay. Okay. Well, people are writing off likely. The two of them seem to not like it's one or the other. It's and they're not. I don't know. But you may be right. We'll see. All right. Moving on to don't be surprised. And for me, I really only have the one, and it's don't be surprised if Rodgers is QB1 this week. Now I'm not declaring it. I'm not saying this is the week, but I am saying don't be surprised. He's going to be out there. He's got Devontae Adams now, which again, lock and load chemistry, frees up Garrett Wilson, a guy who's a wide receiver one in his own right. Then he still has the outlet to Conklin. Plus, keep in mind, he's not afraid to scramble. He's not afraid to run it.
I know at 40 years old, he's still pretty good at it.
He can hustle it up there and get you 5, 6, 7 yards. Don't be surprised if he has, 30, 35 yards from scrimmage.
And you see the connection with Lazard is back.
Yeah, Lazard, like I'm saying, I think he could. And he's going to be looking to prove the point. He's going to be looking to prove a point, and when he wants to prove a point, he's one of those assholes that can fucking do it. As much as it pains me, I'm just saying, don't be surprised. QB1, Aaron Rodgers.
All right, okay. Well, don't be surprised if Spencer Rattler gets a win versus Denver.
Okay, I like that.
Which is a little bit crazy because
it's a little crazy. It's
Denver's defense, and he's a rookie. And
I was going to say, I actually will be very, very, very surprised.
But don't be surprised. I saw some real, some really impressive things out of Spencer Rattler. Agreed. I was expecting a shit show, and I didn't get that. I got a show, So I was like, hey, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised. Denver is one of these teams that finds a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And that might be what we see this week. It might be super close, but
you can say the same thing about the Saints. So
you can, right? They are good at it.
Yeah, which is we'll get to that again in a little bit here and some of the other things. All right. Any other surprises? Don't be surprised.
I'll do these quickly. Don't be surprised if the Packers beat Houston in Lambeau Field. Don't be surprised.
I won't be, not at all.
Don't be surprised if the Jets beat the Steelers. Is Russell Wilson going to start? If he does,
totally, absolutely.
Don't be surprised, especially if your boy is.
Yeah. I might have that. I might have that in a certain locks category.
Ooh, all right. So that's all my don't be surprised.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the must starts, and I've got 2 blanket must starts to begin with, and that's of course everyone in the Lions-Vikings games, with the exception of Ty Chandler. Because we just don't know what the usage is going to be like. Now they have Cam Aiken, blah, blah, blah. That's the only one I would not say is a must start at all. But pretty much everybody else.
So you would extend that. You would extend that to Sam Laporta?
Absolutely.
Must start.
Must start. Well, you have to anyway. He's Sam Laporta. You must.
I guess that's true. I guess that's true. You kind of have to.
Yeah.
All right. What's your other blanket?
My other blanket start is Chiefs versus Niners. Everybody that's, again, fantasy relevant, you should absolutely be playing.
Does that include Isaac Guerrero?
Okay, no. And I'll tell you what. Well, it depends on the declaration of status on
Mason.
On Mason. If Mason plays, Guerrero is downgraded to a sleeper because he has a shoulder injury. And geez, I wonder if those ever get hit while playing running back. That's tough to say. So even if he plays,
they don't carry it with their shoulder.
I know they never hit anything with the shoulder. It's a lot of leg stuff. No, they will. I mean, if he plays, Guerrero becomes a sleeper because I don't think he's going to play a lot of snaps before he has to go sit down again. If Mason doesn't play, which is what I'm hoping for, then yeah, you have to start Guerrero because if it's one thing we've seen about this Niners, and it's a real, he's another guy that was a waiver wire win for me. I picked him up in like 3 places because, I'm not going to miss out on another Niners running back. It doesn't matter what the name is. Whoever he is, he's going to fucking perform in that offense. I refuse to miss the train this time. I picked him up in a lot of leagues. And yes, if Mason is declared out, must start Guerrero.
Awesome. Love to hear it. I got him in one league. Couldn't get him in any other league. He was, it was either priority or I just didn't. People spent a lot.
Yeah.
I guess I think that the fantasy community is basically saying, okay, Mason's out. But Garendo will be good for a week or two. I mean, I don't know how long it's going to be till Christian McCaffrey comes back. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm glad to
I
hear
just
you
want
say
the
it.
next guy. I just want the next guy. If he's the next guy, I'll take him.
There's only one time that the Niners picked a guy that sucked.
Trey Sermon.
That's exactly right. That's the only time. That's the only time. And they got rid of his ass.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, you'll love him, Jonathan Taylor. He'll be your backup. You're gonna love that. He'll be just like CMC or Jonathan Taylor. You'll see. I don't know what they got for him, but
Hot
they stole
garbage.
They stole something. They stole it. Well, I've got a couple of quarterback must starts, and I'm not going for the obvious ones. I don't think so.
Good.
I'm looking at matchups, and I'm looking at Matt Stafford as a must start. I mean, especially if Cooper Kupp is there versus Vegas, and Herbert.
I've actually got Stafford in my sleepers. I've got him in a sleeper. He's not I'm not saying he's a must start, but I totally agree. I think Stafford, especially with Kupp coming back and a great matchup versus deflated team in the Raiders. You're right. I 100% agree. I am a sleeper, but yes, he's definitely on the radar for
I'm
sure.
considering him a must start. I want to give people the confidence to start this guy, especially if your guy's on bye and all the others are taken. He's usually still out there on the wire.
Yeah.
You can grab him and you can feel good about starting him. Same with Justin Herbert this week.
He's also on my on my sleepers. Yep. Yeah. He's on my sleepers. Yep.
See, these are guys I would feel comfortable starting versus Arizona. We've seen that their defense is just terrible. I mean, awful.
Yeah.
That whole team is
and you've seen that the passing game is starting to find a groove with the Chargers. It isn't electric yet, but he had his highest passing yardage day ever last week. And and can I interest you in a live conky?
That makes me want to drink.
I love it so much. And so it makes me want to drink too. And then, so it's starting to come alive. It's starting to percolate. I like what's happening over there, and I think it's coming around. And I think it's a classic Harbaugh offense. It grows and grows. He's so smart about incremental week to week growth, and that's really what makes him such an amazing, beautiful coach.
True that. Agreed. He is wonderful. Big fan of his, always have been. I'm a big Michigan guy. He took him to the championship. And even when they tried to do all kinds of stuff to him, I always was shocked about, and I still don't understand why the Niners got rid of him, when they had him. And then they went and grabbed Mike Singletary for a little while, which was so
wasn't he the coach associated with the Kaepernick situation?
Oh, I think there was that.
And he also, I think, was a staunch defender of Kaepernick. And I think he wanted to bring Kaepernick back, and rightly so. Mm-hmm. And I think that was part of the impasse where he was like, fuck it, then I guess I'll take this great college gig. I'll go back to my alma mater and win a national championship there. And then I think that took about a decade longer than he thought it would. And then he did it and came back to the NFL. So, he was like, all right, well, my priority is going to shift now. I always wanted to do that. I guess I'll do that before I get the Super Bowl ring. And so, I think he thought he'd get a Super Bowl ring and then go back to college and have the rest of his life to do that. I think, so it just kind of flip-flop, but I think it may have been part and parcel with that Kaepernick situation.
Yeah, well, maybe you're right. I didn't think about that, and I think that makes me like him even more.
I know. Honestly. I love the guy. I think he's great, and I think he's great for the Chargers. The best hire in the NFL last year.
How about wide receivers? I've got 3 of those. You got any of those?
Or I should say of the offseason. Yes, in the wide receivers. I have 2 on one team, and that is Adams and Wilson on the Jets. Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson. I think they're both must starts because one is going to help the other. Obviously, Rodgers is going to really make sure to feed Devontae, but in doing that, it's going to open up Garrett Wilson, and I think he's going to have a real nice day over there.
I love that. That's going to be fun. I think they're going to win. I mean, I know we thought that last week too, and they really were close. That was a good effort out there, but I think they're going to win this week. I've got Chris Godwin as a must start.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, the guy's been a superstar. Why would that?
Well, because most people would say, oh, well, Evans is the superstar, but I think that Evans is going to be doubled, and Chris Godwin is going to open up more for him, so he's more of a start. Like if you go to DraftKings, his salary is like 1,000 or 1,200 less than Evans.
Yeah,
So that's why I say yes, he's a must start. And I also think that Brian Thomas Jr. in London versus the
I like
Pats
that. Yep,
is
I
a
like that a lot.
must start.
Okay,
We were talking about London last week, and we talked about this during the week as well. How they are good in London, but they're good at Wembley. We weren't thinking that there's two places that they play. This
right. I
Tottenham
know,
Hotspur or whatever wasn't
and
the play.
they clearly had no vibe over there, that Tottenham Hotspur shit, and I
No,
do expect that to return. But we'll see how it all works. I mean, at least they were over there all week. They're completely acclimated. I mean, if they're going to get a win, this should be the win.
and then here's another good must start is Jamison Williams. Let's go ahead and must start him this
Okay,
week in Minnesota. Minnesota's defense is pretty solid. And, there's so many people to be aware of over there, including their running backs can both catch. So I think he's going to be sort of lost, and he's so damn fast that all it takes are one or two, plays for him, and he can make it a fantasy gold game. So
yeah.
I think he's a must
Well,
start
again, I
this
had the
week.
blanket must starts on that, and that obviously includes Jameson Williams, and it
Yeah,
also includes Tim Patrick. I mean, I think you can.
that's my sleeper.
I
He's my
think, yeah, I
sleeper.
think you in a flex spot. I think he's oddly getting volume.
I
So,
love it.
I that's why they're all must. You got to start them. You must.
You got
All
any
right.
other wide receivers or
No, that was it for me on the must start. Wide aside from the obvious, so those are the ones that I really liked.
yeah? How about running backs?
Running backs, I've got J.K. Dobbins
So do
versus
I.
Arizona. Boy,
Absolutely yes.
you better knock up that J.K. Dobbins and see what he's doing there. He's cooking up a big old pot of football gumbo coming down hot. I
That's
love
like
it.
Tracy Morgan meets Keenan Thompson. Is what that was. That's what that felt like to me.
I'm trying to do a Cajun chef fucking thing. I don't know. What do I talk? Okay, go ahead.
So,
Who else?
yeah,
Who you
J.K.
got?
Dobbins versus Arizona. Wonderful pick.
Yeah,
Wonderful pick. How about Austin Eckler versus Carolina?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Love it. What about Pollard versus Buffalo?
Oh, sure. Yes, absolutely. Pollard has
And
been getting better and better each week. And Buffalo's got a good defense, but it's for the pass, not the
yeah,
run.
not the run. They're actually terrible against the
Yeah.
run. I think they're like 31st against the run. So I mean, again, this is a time thing. There's no one else coming. Not the defense, not the receiver, not the quarterback, not the tight end. No one else, but
Yeah, use
not
the whole
Tajay
team.
Spears. Just Pollard. It's
Yeah.
fucking weird. What about, and there's another guy, well, he's kind of in there, but not really. But another one I got is Chuba. I've been saying it. I've been beating the drum for Chuba Hubbard. And
That Chuba Hubbard is playing
the
against.
Commanders, and the Commanders are
Oh
not
yeah,
good against
start
the
him up.
run.
Start him up.
I again, and I mean, we'll get to the other guys, but
Well, and he's got Jonathan Brooks breathing down his back, and
yeah,
he's like,
and in fact, I
"Hey, he
would
needs
put
to go."
you know what, you could also start Deontay Johnson. I think he could also be a start in terms of the wide receiver. But I'm the only guy that's been calling for Chuba, and I think it's another great. He's just had great matchup after great matchup, and I think this is another one. And again, Jonathan Brooks is still nowhere to be seen. So
Well, that's not true. His window is open. He's been practicing lightly.
right, but he's not
So
in the game. He's not activated. He's not on the. I mean,
right. But
it's been
he's on his back. Like he can
sure.
feel him breathing down his neck.
But it's not happening yet. And
sees
Chuba
it.
Hubbard, week in, week out, has been delivering. I love him this week versus
Chuba's going to try to do his best to keep Brooks from, taking over right away. And I think so far he's absolutely earned that right to keep Brooks as a number two. Kid's a rookie. You know what? You haven't proven anything, and I have. This is what if I'm Chuba Hubbard. How about, well, I already said Achane, and then the obvious one is Kyron Williams is a must start. I mean, he's going to be the number one RB probably this week, unless Saquon gets them 200.
Okay.
Okay.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, those are all my running backs.
What do you have tight end wise?
Well, I already said Mark Andrews is a must start for me this week. Cade Otton versus the Rams, I think, is a must start. Yeah.
Ravens.
I mean, the Ravens, rather. Sorry.
Which you're right.
Ravens.
That is the matchup to exploit. So, absolutely, that's a great one. I was thinking, and I hate saying it, Kyle Pitts versus Seattle. I mean, not that he's doing incredible, but he has been productive and he's seeing a ton of targets, and you can't argue with that, especially with the tight end position. Being what the tight end position is right now. Unfortunately, Pitts is a must start. And another guy who was a big waiver wire win last week, proved to be worth it, is an absolute must start if he's playing Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
He is, and that's what's going to help out Brian Thomas.
How many targets did he get?
I just something like 11 or something. Like,
but
it was
insane. He had 10 receptions.
Yeah, it was.
So he had like a ton target share.
And we were saying that, and we also thought that was going to propel the win, and it didn't. But they were
yeah.
But
all right, shake it off.
Evan Ingram must.
Yeah. Over 10 targets last week. He was fantastic. Defense must starts.
Oh my God, I have so many.
I've only got 2. I mean, the rest are relatively obvious, but I think you can go ahead and start the Rams defense, even though they're pretty bad.
Versus the Raiders, because the Raiders are just straight up deflated. I think they don't even put up much of a fight, unfortunately. Although I will say I do like Madison, but because he's still running with passion.
Yeah, but he's on my sleeper list.
Yeah. I like him a lot. But yeah, Rams defense I think is an absolute must start.
And another one that's been really bad, which I think is a must start, is the Bengals defense.
A lot of people are picking the Bengals defense because they're up against the Browns.
Right.
But again, I've got this weird, and I'm going to talk about that because it's in the Scary Be Wary. We'll talk about this. Okay. You want to pick, and listen, people, if you're not trying to win with defense, you're not trying to win. Okay. These matchups must be exploited because it's the difference between getting 6 points, 2 points, 16 or 27 points. It could be so huge for me. And this might go into one of the locks of the week, because if you look at it, you know where this would go. But the Denver defense and the Saints defense versus each other is defensive. And again, probably bet the under. I don't know.
Take the under, exactly.
Take the under. Put that in the locks.
Yeah.
Let me see what the actual number is on that, which I have open already. Let me look. New Orleans versus Denver. Where are you guys? Here you go. Oh my God. Just take a guess at the number. I like this number for an under.
I'm going to take a guess. 38.
37. You almost nailed it. And I think you could take the under on that pretty easily. I think that's a solid one.
The only thing that'll mess up your under is if the defense actually scores.
Right.
Like that could mess up the
which could happen, because again, I'm saying you must start. But in fact, picking up the New Orleans defense, it was a huge win for me. And then already having the Denver defense, another huge win for me. I think both defenses are going to do great this week.
Yep, I agree. Who else you got?
I got Bills defense versus the Titans.
Yep.
Bills defense, they've shown they can show up when the Titans are fucking garbage.
I don't remember them.
Pats defense versus the Jags, even though we think that the Jags should have a good weekend, they should. This Pats defense, though, with the new quarterback and the energy, they seem a little bit more alive.
Right.
So I'm not so hot on the Jags. I'm loving the Pats defense. And one last one, Jets defense versus the Steelers, because Steelers are scrambled eggs right now.
True that. I mean, Russell Wilson is going to be running for his life. And they're doing all this without Hassan Reddick. Is that guy ever going to play again? I wonder.
I think he's taking the season off, or to either force a trade. Well, to force a trade. So he's just not going to
now. I mean, I don't want him.
Anybody who's willing.
Cowboys are going to go.
I was going to say anybody who's willing to sign the contract, to give him a new contract. Whoever's willing to do that, will get him. Now, let me ask you this, because I have in one league both the Denver defense versus the Titans or versus the Saints, and the Jets defense versus the Steelers. Which one you like?
I think I'll take the Saints.
No, Denver versus the Saints.
Oh, I'll take Denver. I think
Yeah,
I'll
that's
take
what I have
Denver.
in there right now is Denver. That's what I have in there just because, rookie, and now they have tape on him. They know what he likes to do. They're going to hit him when he gets outside.
And they're
I
very
like,
good. I mean,
yeah,
their defense is just solid regardless.
yeah, it's like number 2 right now.
Yeah.
So
How about
those are
your
the
sits?
defenses.
How about your sits?
All right. Blankets, my first ever blanket sit.
Ooh.
Everyone in Miami versus the Colts. And I know you're calling out for those running backs. I know. I'm telling you right now, it's garbage city. I don't like any of them. Sit them all. Sit everybody in these 2 games.
No.
I wouldn't touch a soul.
Those running backs are going to feast. You'll see. One of those guys is going to pop off. And if Achane is playing, it's going to be him.
Okay.
But if you're going to sit a quarterback this week, I go ahead and sit Kyler Murray. I think he's a must sit.
Okay.
Especially, and it's versus the Chargers, who have very good defense.
The defense has gotten better. Again, every week
they've
gotten better. And now that defense is something to be considered.
Yes, it's something you should be, if you've been struggling and you want, if you're a person who likes to play the same defense over and over again, I mean, if you get a good one, like I have Pittsburgh, so I've been just keeping them and rolling with them most of the season. But, if you've been struggling at defense, they're probably out there.
Yeah, and through last week they were, but a lot of them got picked up this week.
They got picked up this week, probably because Arizona. Yeah. But especially if Marvin Harrison Jr. is not playing, I think that that makes it even more of a must sit for Kyler Murray because he's not going to be able to run.
Well, and I said that a couple of weeks ago when that guy tried to trade me, and you were like, "You got to take that trade," and I'm like, And Kyler does the Kyler thing where he starts out great and gets you in your points, and then he levels off and then takes a shit. And that's pretty much what's happening. So
far.
I have another blanket sit.
And
it is all Raiders with the exception of Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is what Pollard is to the Titans. He's one guy that is going to produce, is going to get catches, is going to get, for a tight end position, he's still going to be very, very productive. But that's it. Start nobody else. Everybody else is garbage. Although I have to admit, I am playing Madison.
I was just going to say, I disagree because of Madison.
Yeah.
I think Madison is the other guy that you can and probably should start.
He's playing with Allegre, but I don't know. I would sit him this week if he can, but I unfortunately am in one of those bye week situations where I have to play him because I have DeAndre Swift.
Well, for running backs, I've got, even if Jordan Mason plays, I think you got to sit him.
Yeah.
And I think you have to sit. And I think
he'll go out. He'll go out.
Yeah. And I think you've got to sit Garendo and all of the Niners running backs because Kansas City, believe it or not, is the number 1 defense
they're
against
actually
the run.
Really strong against the run. That's also very true. That's very true.
So I say sit your San Francisco running backs, which is a weird thing to say because they're always so freaking good.
Yeah.
And then I would sit all of your I've got a blanket sit on running backs for Cincy. Just sit them.
I've got a blanket running back sit for Tampa Bay.
You don't like the new kid?
No, I do. You just don't know what the shares are going to be like.
Yeah, good point.
And they're up against the Ravens. And the Ravens defense is great against what?
The run.
Oh, so considering the split, considering you don't know who's what, they may even give Rashad White a few more downs. Like the coach went and said, a 3-headed monster. Like, fuck that. Nope, sit them all. And then I think you must sit Nick Chubb. Don't start him. You can't be that desperate. That is a desperate, desperate move if you're playing Nick Chubb this week. Don't do it. He's just not going to be out on the field enough to reward you. I don't even think they would put him in on a goal line situation because that's so much contact.
That's the scariest part.
I think that's where they would definitely put in Deontay Foreman. So I see no upside to putting in Nick Chubb this week.
Well, as far as tight ends go, I'd say must sit. Dalton Kincaid is a must sit.
Okay, all right.
And you know why? Because it's the Titans. They're number 1 against tight ends defensively.
Leave it to the Titans to be good in one weird ass category like that.
That's the one. They are great at stopping tight ends. They're the number 1 defense versus tight ends, which is weird. You're right.
That's
it's a
so
strange thing.
Titans are
good at something.
Such an odd team.
So I say sit. I say sit Kincaid. Plus, he's been pretty underwhelming, and you saw Dawson Knox get that touchdown last week,
Yeah.
and not Dalton Kincaid. I think he had like 5 targets and 3 receptions. When I lost by 0.16 points in one of our leagues because of him, if he had just gotten 1 more target or just 2 more yards.
Oh, I hate those. Oh, I ran into. Can I tell you a quick story? I was in a dead heat. I mean, we were both way up in the points. I was supposed to win by a lot, but he had one of those incredible weeks where his team went off, and so he had 158 points. I had 146 points, and I had James Cook going into Monday night, and he got declared out. I run to the waiver wire, and who do I pick up? Mac Hollins.
What?
Who scores a touchdown. Okay? And gets me within 4 points. And then he had like 4 more targets, one of them for another touchdown that he dropped.
Not Mac. Ty.
No, Mac Hollins, the wide receiver.
Oh.
It was a flex spot.
Sorry, I thought you were going running back.
No, we were talking about the running back. I had James Cook.
Yeah.
He got declared out, and I would have won with James Cook. So I had to grab, and it's a dynasty league, so there's nothing but garbage on the wire. And Mac Hollins was there, so I grabbed him.
Mr. Barefoot.
Gotcha. And he gets a fucking touchdown. And I'm like, no. And that was in the first quarter. And I'm like, oh. So for 3 quarters, and he kept. Now, he got a lot of fouls called on him, but he caught no more passes. And then he got targeted in the end zone, and it went right off his hands. And I'm like, it was almost the most dramatic, out of nowhere scrub play ever in the history of fantasy football.
Was Ray Davis not available to you in that league?
No, of course not.
Well,
it's a dynasty league. He was drafted at the beginning of the season.
Well, yeah, I did not know. It was dynasty.
So so switching over to wide receivers, I think you must sit, and a lot of people are going to want to start him this week, Romeo Doubs. Last week was the week, the squeaky wheel, and he got the grease, okay? But this week, it'll go back to Jaden Reed and Devontae. Now, he'll still be in the mix more than he was. But
you just were about to mention Wicks, and he's banged up, so I don't know if he'll even play.
But Christian Watson is back out there now.
That's true.
And Tyler Gray. So I'm just saying it goes back to him just being the role player this week, as opposed to last week when they were like, all right, you're gonna be the star, you got it,
You totally called it. And did you notice that after he caught his touchdowns, he just
did he really?
Zero emotion.
It was probably him just like, told you. I've been telling you I could do this, and you wouldn't believe me. You fucking told you. Hold on, I got to turn on the light in here. It looks like I'm in a fucking spank basement.
Are you not?
Like I was that was a Halloween edition of fantasy football.
We're almost to Scary Be Wary. You should have waited.
I should have I'll do it back for Scary Be Wary.
I've got a little flashlight. I'll do the same. So I think that for wide receivers, you got to sit Khalil Shakir. I know you don't want to do it. It's Tennessee, and they're actually number 2 against wide receivers. So, and Shakir, we were talking about him earlier, how we think his ankle's still not quite 100%.
That's very much the case.
And plus, there's that new toy he's going to want to play with. I don't know. And that Ray Davis looked pretty freaking good. So, they may just, and then Josh may just run it himself a lot. So, I don't know. I think I would
keep in mind, I think Ray Davis is one of those guys that has that huge first game, fresh legs, high adrenaline, playing in the NFL situation. And it was like, a marquee game. Everybody was watching Monday night. I don't know if that's who Ray Davis actually is going forward. So,
it'll be fun to find out, though. I'm excited to see.
It will be. But I think James Cook comes back and I hope he does. I need him to.
He should, right?
I would say you must sit.
Yes.
George Pickens. We talked about it earlier. He's got this QB soup going on. Versus the Jets, and he's in between Sauce Gardner. Like, you must sit Pickens no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's it for me in the sits. You got any more?
Just defenses. I've got a couple of those to sit. I would sit the Browns defense versus Cincy. And
Okay.
I would sit the Houston defense versus Green Bay because I do believe that Jordan Love is going to be QB1.
Right. Okay. That
So
makes
those are
sense.
my sits. Should we go on to our
Yes. Scary, be
scary?
wary. And for me, I'll start it off, and we would kind of dancing around. Whoa. Oh, yeah. Scary. Let me change it too. Let me change it.
Beware!
Here we go. The skill in the Halloween pixel. Although really they're next week, but whatever. For me, scary beware. Bengals versus the Browns. And I know that it seems like it should be a cakewalk, but the Browns, this is one of those games that no matter what the situation is, they're going to play each other tough. And I said this with the Ravens and the Browns, and it was a much tougher game than people thought. And I think we're going to see the same thing. This is another one of those, that Midwestern Ohio fucking shit. They just play each other super fucking hard. And so beware, Bengals, all Bengals versus the Browns. Just beware. I know you're going to start them. Scary, be wary.
Beware, my friend. Beware, Josh Allen.
Oh,
Beware. Oh, he's going to try to force feed Amari Cooper. It may or may not work. Khalil Shakir's all banged up. Beware, my friends. Beware.
Which brings me to beware, Amari Cooper. I know you want to start him. It's a juicy steak out on that plate, but you might find it's a little undercooked. So just beware. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to start him too, but beware, beware.
Beware. Beware, CJ Stroud. Beware.
Ooh.
I know people think he's
Ooh.
so great, and he is pretty great. But beware, this week at Lambeau Field, no, he's not going to be so great at Lambeau. It's Lamb no for CJ Stroud.
Beware, Kirk Cousins versus the Seahawks. Kirk Cousins has floated back down to earth, and it looks like he still is Kirk Cousins, as predicted by someone on the show.
It wasn't me. Who could it have been?
Oh, who could it have been? He's been dead for 3 seasons.
Beware of Kenneth Walker III. Beware. He's been playing great, but Atlanta's defense is solid, and they will stuff him, and perhaps Charbonnet eats into his touches.
That is scary. And they are playing in Atlanta. Okay. And one last one. You had touched on this earlier, but beware the Kyler of Murray. I know you want to play him, but the Chargers defense is shockingly good.
Yes. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't.
Beware of 2 amazing running backs who you've counted on all season. Beware, my friends. Beware of Gibbs and Montgomery both. Oh, beware. Minnesota's second best against the run. These guys love to run, but they can't do it like Minnesota. Beware.
Beware. And again, you probably are going to start them. You can't help it, but beware. Okay, do you have any more?
I've got some wide receivers.
Okay.
Beware. Brandon Ayuk. He's been scary all season, and people think, oh, well, this is the week. He's very good versus Kansas City historically. He always shows up versus Kansas City. Not this year. He's too busy counting his money. Beware.
Pure silliness.
Oh, I have Pickens on mine too. Beware George Pickens versus the Jets.
And
He
I
will.
okay, well there you go. Okay. And I would, honestly, I would just straight up put Ayuk on the must sits, and until further notice, that guy's garbage. I
I
don't know what
just
happened
dropped
to
him.
him. I don't
I
exactly. You
I
dropped
dropped him.
him. That says everything. All right, let's go back. Lights on.
That was scary.
That was scary. Very scary. Be wary right there. All right. Oh, and now okay, and now let's move on to the fun stuff, sleepers and flyers. We've done pretty good with these.
This is one of my favorite. I love doing this. I love doing the research for this. It gets me all pumped up for my DFS picks, and it makes me focus on guys that I wouldn't normally focus on.
Totally, without
It's a
question.
lot of fun. So I'm ready for some good ones.
All right, I'll start us off. And this is a guy you don't like. This is a guy you said you have to sit, but I'm gonna say he's a sleeper, and that's Khalil Shakir.
Mm.
And just because everyone's going to be looking over at that Amari Cooper, and guess what's going to make his life a lot easier? I know he still has the ankle thing. If he plays, though, just I'm saying he could be a sleeper, maybe a DFS flyer.
I like it. I like it. I mean, as far as a flyer goes, he's a pretty. If you're going to take a flyer on somebody, over there,
Yeah,
he's probably the one to do it.
I think he's kind of the forgotten man here, which might make him a bargain and might make him someone that is open when they need that down the field pass.
And this one goes against everything you said earlier. I am going to say there are three quarterbacks to take a flyer on. I'll start with the one that I was just referring to. I take a flyer on Tyler Huntley this week.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
The Colts really are terrible. Their defense is awful. And if anyone is going to make Tyler Huntley look good, it's going to be them. Yeah. So I say take a flyer on him. Take a flyer on Drake May and Spencer Rattler while you're at it. These guys showed a lot of promise while they were out there. And I think Drake May just might be pretty darn good.
And the Jaguars are number one worst against QBs. It's really a great second start for him to go up against this Jags team, even though he has to go to London. But he's a young dude who needs sleep when you're that age.
Exactly.
Now this is a deep sleeper. This is really, but
that's what these are. That's what these are for.
But if you were watching that Denver game, you had to be impressed with Courtland Sutton. Oh, his skill set is there. He's another guy. You put him on the pile with Cooper, with McLaurin, of guys that have the talent and not the QB. This kid, he's starting to get there with Knicks. And week after week, they get a little better and a little bit better. And I know it's a tough Marshawn Lattimore, the Saints. Again, this is but in the fourth, when they have to throw, if they have to throw, but again, we're saying it's probably going to be an under game. But if they have to throw, it's going to go to Courtland Sutton. And
target monster.
He's the guy. And that Vele guy is not bad. He's a deep, deep, deep sleeper. Yes. But I do kind of like Sutton in the fourth versus the Saints.
How about, let's take a look at my wide receivers. How about Quentin Johnson?
Sure.
Let's take a flyer on him again.
Is it Johnson or Johnston?
Johnson, the guy from the Chargers.
Sure, I know who you're talking about. I think it might be. I think
it's Algiers. Actual throwback for the listeners. Johnston, Quentin Johnston.
I think
one of those. Caramel. I don't know. Start Q. start Q. Over there, the kid I think he's got a good matchup,
and it is Johnston.
Good, thank you. I appreciate the clarification. It is important. Take a flyer on Quentin Johnston.
Well, that leads me to one of my quarterback flyers, which is somebody you liked earlier, which is Herbert versus the Cards. I think he's a strong flyer this weekend. He, again, incrementally better. The pass game is starting to happen with McConkey, with Quentin. I like Herbert versus the Cards.
Not to mention J.K. Dobbins.
And not to mention J.K. Dobbins.
Who is actually one of the better pass catching.
And now Kamani Vidal.
That's my flyer for running backs.
Sorry.
You jumped it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Nah, I know. You were just too good. What can we do? You know,
Listen,
we're too good
we
at
know
this.
the game. We're
We
great
know
at the
what we're
game.
talking
We know how to
about.
play this game.
How about can I interest you in a little? I don't know how to say it, so let's try.
Johnston.
Yeah, that's pretty good. How about Keyshawn Butte?
Okay, yeah, big pickup on the waiver wire this week. Boot.
How about this Butte? Booty? I don't know.
Booty.
Maybe take a booty
Hey, you
call.
look good. Did you just come to Booty Parlor? Yeah.
Okay. So he is looking good. He'll be in London, and I think Drake May is going to have a pretty decent game. And he showed a lot of stuff there. And like you said, in the last podcast, which is really, just something that everyone should always remember, is it was really great advice is to say, listen, when you get a guy like Drake May, you get a rookie or somebody taking over for another quarterback, you got to go not to the main guys, go to the other rookies, go to the third stringers, go to the ones that they practice with.
The ones they've been practicing with, who are
Yes.
not the guys on the field.
It's something to remember.
It's somebody, exactly. It's somebody from the practice squad. It's somebody that was available to him and that now
to work with.
Is the one that has chemistry. And the coaches see it and they put him on the field. I don't know how many weeks it'll last, but I agree this week, absolutely a decent flyer.
And you already mentioned Tim Patrick, which was another flyer I've got for Detroit.
Yeah, like him a lot.
I like him. And last but not least, as far as wide receivers, this is a guy that you're always taking a flyer if you ever use him. I mean, you probably aren't rostering him, but Rashad Bateman, I think you could take a flyer perhaps this week.
Okay, he is definitely, and you're right. He's always a flyer. That's right.
Yeah, right.
For me, another quarterback I like is Stafford. For me, he's a sleeper. He's a flyer over there versus the Raiders. I think he's absolutely startable this week.
Yep. Well, I have him on my must starts. That's
exactly. You think more of him than I do. And then my other sleeper running back is Tyrone Tracy versus the Eagles, and the reason being is it's one of those things that, like, when you see a guy going off, you want to go off too. You see that a lot. So if Saquon's popping, Tyrone's going to dig in and going to go full Tyrone. So I like him.
Is Singletary just still out, or is
no, he's questionable and he might play, but I think even if he plays, I just don't see him taking back the job from Tyrone Tracy.
I feel like you're right. Tyrone Tracy has.
I think he's.
I don't know if he's a flyer at this point. No, I don't think he's a. I think he's more of
this game. I think he is because it's versus the Eagles.
That's fair. Well, I had Kamani Vidal as a running back.
It's a deep sleeper for sure.
And here's another one. And this is a guy who you could say what you said about Ray Davis about this guy, Dearness Johnson.
Oh,
right. We saw him do this in Cleveland. Okay. And he was freaking good.
Yeah.
And then because ETN is
a wash.
He's not okay. Something's wrong. Hamstring, I don't know. But I've never been a fan of his. Anyway. I always thought he was overrated, and I think that he's just hurt now. Bigsby has been crushing it, and now this Dearness Johnson came in, and I think Bigsby may have got hurt or something. I didn't see anything about it, but Dearness Johnson had a lot of touches, and I think that he really showed out. I don't know how much of that game you got to watch or how much anyone was watching. Dearness Johnson for the Jags, it was actually looking really good, and take a flyer. I mean, if you're looking to save money, if you want to buy up on some of these players.
Listen, he was a very, very popular ad on the waiver wire this week, but we've seen this show before.
He was good.
And he tends to be a 1 week wonder. That's just who Dearness Johnson is. So I mean, but you're like you said, it's a flyer, it's a sleeper. He might be valuable, but I didn't bother to try picking him up in any league.
Yeah, it's too hard. I mean, I have Tank Bigsby in the one league.
Yeah, I do too. I have taken. I'm starting. So
same. So I was like, all right, I'm not taking him.
Yeah. All right. Now let's. Do you have any more flyers or sleepers?
I have a couple more running backs, and then I got 2 tight ends to go for.
All right. Well, let's go through them.
I'll do it quickly.
Thank you.
So how about Tyler Goodson? I mentioned him last time.
Sure.
I'd say go ahead, take a flyer versus Miami, and Alexander Madison we spoke of. Take a flyer on him this week.
I am.
For tight ends, take a flyer on Jonnu Smith. versus the Colts, and Dalton Schultz, who's been super underperforming. Take a flyer on him, and Foster Moreau. I think this week might be good for flyers.
I got another tight end flyer for you, actually. Mo Alley Cox.
Nice.
He had a really nice week last week, and maybe getting some attention over there as an outlet. So I mean, look at his
Huge
numbers from
target.
last week. He had a big week last week, actually. So
okay,
quietly had a nice performance. All right, and
ready to make people some money?
Let's make some money, Doug.
Let's make some people some money. You tell me? First of all, how many locks you got?
Well, now I have 3 because we've added the under on the Saints Denver game.
Okay, now that I have 2.
Yeah,
I'll use that as well.
Under, say, and I'm putting it in my notes so I remember, because I'm going to be in Vegas this weekend and I want to remember to bet this.
Nice. You're gonna put $5 whole on it, or are you gonna go?
I've come up to a $20 bet.
Whoa! Hey now.
And can I tell you, it feels like pure danger every time. I mean, every time I'm like, what am I thinking? $20.
Small baller.
Oh my God, it's so much to me. Gambling scares me, but I love the Pats, because the Pats are plus 5.5 versus the Jags. And I know this is the London. So yeah, the Jags may win, but I love the plus 5.5. And in fact, I can see the Pats just straight up winning this sucker. I love this lock of the week, Pats plus 5.5.
My lock of the week is the Chargers minus 2.5 over Arizona. They're going to win. They're going to win by more than a field goal. Lock it up. Chargers, lock of the week. I've got 2 dice rolls for you.
Okay, wait. I got 2 more. I got one more lock.
All right, let's hear your lock. We got to get
my one
money.
last lock is Detroit plus 110 money line over Minnesota, and I'm going to tell you why. The Hutchinson situation is so emotional. That defense is going to play with its heart on its sleeve, and they're not. Minnesota is just, and without Aaron Jones, it's not going to be a great day for Minnesota. Detroit, now they're not going to do to Minnesota what they did to Dallas, but they are unequivocally going to win. And plus 110, you're in the plus side with it. You don't need the points. Detroit plus 110, take that free money.
Well, I don't know for sure if Aaron Jones is out or not. I just want to say for the record. And then, are they playing in Minnesota? Because if
they are in Minnesota,
that's a little harder too for me.
But they're both dome teams. They're both dome teams.
Well, that helps. That helps.
And Minnesota is coming off a bye, I believe.
Yeah. Yes, they are. That's correct.
Yeah. So sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad.
Yeah, you saw for Saquon, it wasn't so good.
Yeah. So I really, the emotion factor with what's going on over there in Detroit. I mean, as if that team needed another rallying point.
Right.
This one is huge after what they saw last week. I think that plays out this week against a rival in a dome where they're comfortable, even though it's not their own. I think Detroit has. I like them. I think it's a lock.
All right. You got any dice rolls for us?
I don't have any dice rolls. What do you got?
I got 2. I've got the Rams minus 7.
Versus Vegas. I like that. It's a tough spread. That's a tough spread, but I do like it.
That's why it's a dice roll and not a lot.
It's definitely a dice roll. That's because that's.
And then I'll roll the dice. I'll roll the dice with Philly minus 3 over the Saints. I'll roll the dice. Philly minus 3.
Philly's not playing the Saints. They're playing.
Oh, the Giants. Excuse me, the Giants.
Right.
Giants. Can't read my own writing. Over the Giants. Philly minus 3. Remember,
I feel that.
Saquon's going to go for 200. So minus 3. Let's do it.
I like it. I'm gonna. You know what? I'm actually gonna put that on my list.
You're gonna bet it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nice.
Oh, dude, listen. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there and just start fucking.
Yeah.
Before the tables get my money. So. Oh man, we had a lot of fun at blackjack this weekend. Where was I? I forgot where I was, but we had a great time playing blackjack. All right, that's it. Week 7. Here we go.
Yeah.